Good evening, everyone. I'm back with a bit of an update from having finished my first week of year one with Mavenclad. So I hope everyone had a good weekend. For us here in Australia, we've got 1 week left before spring's here, and today was a bit of a taster. It was so beautiful outside without the winds. So I hope everyone in Australia enjoyed our beautiful spring day. I'm just going to touch on where I left off before, and that was in regards to the symptoms and side effects that I was experiencing once I'd finished that week one of Mavenclad. And I have taken my first tablet of week 2 year one this evening. So I'll be able to talk about that tomorrow, I guess. Hopefully there's not much to talk about. So I guess in completing week 1 year one, I was a little bit sad in that the fatigue kicked in. So I definitely felt drowsy, and still do. It seems to come in waves. I can function okay for a little bit, and then all of a sudden I feel utterly exhausted. And you can normally put off, fatigue to a degree, but anyone with MS will know that when it kicks in, it's a different kind of fatigue. It just renders you, incapacitated, in that you have to lay down. There's not really an option. So the fatigue I'm disappointed in, because when I was going through the washout period, I just felt so good, and I miss that. So I'm grieving that extra energy that I was loving. That's okay though. Nothing's forever, hopefully. I also have had some lightheadedness and a little bit of shortness of breath and some nausea. So, nothing that I haven't heard of before, that other people have experienced, and everybody in varying degrees. So if you're starting week one, don't think because somebody else had this that I'm going to have that. You don't know, and everybody's different and in different circumstances, which I talked about in my last video, whether it's medications, environmental, etc. So I've really just been slowing my pace down, doing what I can when I can, and I'm hoping that my iron is low, that I'm suffering with a bit of anemia. Why am I hoping that? Because you can fix that. And I found out yesterday from a pharmacist that with the Mavenclad you can end up with some anemia. So that would be good if that was the case, and I'll know in a day or so when I get the bloods back, because that might be fixable in just simply taking iron tablets. So I guess I'm hoping that it's something. I guess what I'm trying to say is it might not always be the Mavenclad side effects. It's an impact from it, but fixable hopefully. So fingers crossed that's what it is, because then I may feel more energetic than I have been. I've also had some hair thinning. I pretty much had some of that straight away, and you already know, guys, that I don't have much hair as it is anyway. And the dry skin, I learnt from this lovely young pharmacist fellow yesterday that also for all the fellow MSs out there, the cladribine can get into the peripheral limbs, so your hands and feet, and cause some problems. So problems in as much as swelling, pain, and I believe the dryness. So we've all talked about the dryness, but it actually is causing you to produce additional skin cells. So I learnt. So this young guy put me onto an awesome cream, and I know he said this pharmacist said he was going to watch my YouTube video. So I'm just going to show you. I don't know about overseas, but here in Australia, anybody that experiences super dry skin, dermatitis, psoriasis, this, it really is great. I put it on once. It does create a barrier, but it also, it's called YEAR1, and apparently it draws in 10% of moisture and locks it in, and then the cream forms a barrier. So he picked up that I'd had a rash under where my rings were, and already it's made a difference. So just a little plug there for the dry skin. If you can get your hands on the YEAR1, go for it. I've had my blood test. So the first blood test after completing week 1. And remember, the idea is that your lymphocytes drop lower. Well, mine have dropped. So the good news is the drug is doing what it needs to do. It's taking out the B cells and the T cells, the lymphocytes that fight infection. So here in Australia, the normal range is between 1 and 4, I've been told, and mine's down to 0.6. So I know, my understanding is that if your lymphocytes hit 0.5, they start to monitor the bloods more closely, because you know, you can, the risk of infections and serious infections increases significantly. And I think if it hits 0.2, they consider viral, antiviral drugs as well. I guess, you know, 0.6 is great. It's doing its job. That doesn't leave you feeling fantastic. However, it's not forever, hopefully. Given that it's down to 0.6 and I've only had week 1, I'm thinking by the time I finish this week's treatment that I may hit that 0.5. I think I'm going to be likely to hit that 0.5 and lower, which is okay. They can just monitor that. So now that I've started day 1, sorry, I'm a bit scatty, and that's the other thing that's not going so well, is the brain fog and the cognition and the finding words. In my next video, I thought I'd actually talk about that. That's a bit more intimate for me, because that's probably one of my biggest symptoms that has had such a huge impact on my life. It's in fact the reason that they've changed me at trial, changing different drugs, is because of the decline in cognition and memory. But I'm going to talk about that in my next video. So if you're interested in learning a bit more about that side of MS, or some of the challenges that I've had, any tips and things like that, I'm happy to share. I don't have the solution or the cure, just the survival tips. So I'll talk about that in my next video. For the next week, I'll be back to drinking loads and loads of water, and I think that made the difference, because I had minimal backache, fingers crossed. That was a tip that I picked up from someone else. I'm going to do a bit more meal prep. I guess one of the things that I'm disappointed in myself was, prior to starting this drug, part of my preparation was exercising and really improving my health and eating. Unfortunately, I felt pretty yuck, and that sort of all went to the wayside. So I'm feeling a bit flat about that, but I'm sure I'll get there again. Just haven't got the strength in my legs to do squats, and yeah. So anyway, I'm sure it will get better. Anyway, I'm going to check back in later in the week and tell you how I'm going with round 2. Fingers crossed, if you're about to start week 1 or week 2, you can do it. You've got this. Have a great week. Thanks. Bye.